So you clicked on this video because you want to figure out how to set up your back workout, and that's exactly what we're going to be going over today. Why should you listen to me? My name is Manraj Sandhu. I've been working out for about a decade now. I've helped over 1,000 clients since 2017. I've competed in 2 natural bodybuilding shows, and I took my back from this to this. So I definitely know a thing or two, but we're gonna get straight into it. So when we look at back training, I like to set it up 3 different ways specifically, and I'll be going over all of them. So over here, I have 3 different programs. I'm gonna go to the first one, the exercises in the order of the exercises, and I'll explain it more in depth. So when we look at back training, the first way I kind of like to set it up is I like to start off with a hip hinge movement, right? So a hip hinge movement is something where you're able to load a lot of weight on your erectors, your upper backs, your glutes, your hamstrings, right? So for this, a hip hinge could be like a deadlift, right? Could be a Romanian deadlift, could be a stiff leg deadlift, or like an RDL. So for this first program, the way I like to do it is I actually like to do a deadlift, right? So I'll put hinge over here. So that's the first exercise I like to start off with. The reason I like to start off with the deadlift is because it's a really solid compound movement. You're gonna get the most bang for your buck. And then also, you're gonna hit everything on your posterior chain from your traps all the way to your calves, right? And you'll really build that density in your back. So I like to start off with this, and I'm gonna explain the sets and reps at the end of the video as well. So I always like to start off with a hip hinge movement. If you don't like doing deadlifts, like I said, you could do dumbbell RDLs, you could do dumbbell RDLs, you could also do a Romanian deadlift as well. That's solid, right? After that, what I like to do is I like to move on to a lat-based movement, so a lat exercise, right? The way I like to split up my back training is I have lat exercises, then I have upper back movements, right? So I kind of think of it as like 2 different body parts. So the first exercise is gonna be lat-based. For me, I feel like the lower lats, right, is really what accentuates that V-taper, so I always like to focus on that first, right? So for this, you wanna exercise where your elbow is driving down towards your hip, right? So for this, I like doing a close grip lat pull down. So we're gonna put this close grip lat pull down. And for this, I like to have a neutral grip. The reason I like the neutral grip is because like I said before, right? Your elbows are forced to be tucked in and you're driving your elbows towards your hip. So this is really gonna hit that lower lat, right? And give you that crazy physique that you want and that V shape to your back. So I like to do the lat exercise first. After that, I like to do an upper back movement. So I'm just gonna put upper back in brackets, right? So what upper back movement do I like to do? Personally for me, right, I really enjoy the T-bar row. The reason I like the T-bar row is because it's chest supported, right? And you could just focus on rowing your elbows back and you get a big hard contraction at the bottom and a really good stretch at the bottom, right? A big hard contraction at the top and a really good stretch at the bottom. So I like doing the T-bar row. You could also do a bent over row. The reason I don't like a bent over barbell row is because we already did a hinge movement at the starting, right? So that's already gonna cause a lot of fatigue on your erectors and that hip hinge pattern. So that's why I don't like it. That's why I like a little bit more of a chest supported row. So I'll put T-bar here. After that, I'm gonna go back to a lat movement. So what you're gonna notice is I'm going lat movement, upper back, and I'm going back and forth between the 2, right? So for this is also gonna be lat, and this is gonna be upper back. So my second lat movement, so I've already done a movement for the lats where I'm rowing down, right? I'm pulling down. That's gonna hit my lower lats. Now I wanna do a movement where I'm rowing towards me. So my elbow path for the first exercise was somewhere here, right? And now I wanna do a movement where it's somewhere here to hit like that middle lat, right? For this, I like to keep it nice and simple, keep it old school. I like doing the seated row. So I like doing the seated row as my second lat exercise. For this, it's gonna be, once again, a neutral grip. So the elbows are gonna be a little bit more tucked in. After that, we have our second upper back movement. For the first movement, we did a T-bar row, right? So a T-bar row, when you're laying down, chest supported, you're kind of rowing towards your chest. The next movement I like to do is I like to do a low to high row. So instead of rowing like this, I wanna do a movement where I'm going from here and I'm coming up, right? And my elbows are flared. That way I hit a little bit more of my traps and I hit more so my upper back as well. Because this, you're gonna get a little bit more rhomboid and a little bit of rear delts as well. So for this, I'll put low to high row. Oh. Also, the handwriting is super messy, so just ignore the handwriting. So low to high row, right? You could be a plate loaded row going from here to here. Very, very simple, really solid movement. So when you look at this, right, we have the back, we have a hinge to start off with. So you're gonna hit the erectors and you'll hit your back from top to bottom. Then we're hitting the lats, right? We're specifically hitting the lats, the lower lats. Then over here, we're doing a T-bar row. We're hitting more so the rhomboids and the mid back and the rear delts. And then we have a seated cable row. So we're hitting the mid lat, rowing like this. And then to finish off, we have a extremely low to high row. So where we're coming from here up to here, right? This is gonna hit more so like the upper back and the traps. And next we have a couple of different movements that you can finish off with. I always like to finish off with rear delts. So some rear delt exercises that you could do face pulls. That's a really solid movement, right? You could also do reverse pec deck. That's a solid movement as well. Or you could do rear delt flies with dumbbells. Once again, a solid movement. I personally like to just do a reverse pec deck because it's super simple, right? You get a really good range of motion, plus you could load the machine and the pins. Whereas sometimes if you're using, dumbbells, you can't really make the jump from 15 to 20 pounds, right? So it makes it a little bit more difficult. So for this, I'll put reverse pec deck. Boom. And the last two exercises, I always leave for bicep training if you train back and biceps, right? So for this, we're not actually gonna put anything. If you're only doing a back day, I would just do this, boom. But if you're doing a little bit of biceps as well, you could do like a preacher curl over here and you could do an incline dumbbell curl. So that's gonna be the first variation, right? So this is more of a full back workout. You're getting a lot of erectors, upper back, and lats as well. So you're not really prioritizing anything. You're just doing a little bit of everything, right? If you want to have a little bit more of a lat focused workout, here's what I would do to change it up. Let's say your lats are lagging, right? Your lats aren't big, and that's really one area that you want to work on. This is how I would structure the workout. So the first exercise, I would put close grip. I would put a close grip pull down, right? That would be the first movement. After that, what I would do is I would do a seated cable row. And then after that, I will do a little bit more upper back. So see how we're prioritizing these two movements? We're prioritizing these two movements and putting it here. That way you're fresh, you feel good, and you could hit all lat. And then after this, what I would do is I would do the T-bar. You're done your lat movements, then I would do the T-bar, right? T-bar. And then next you'll have low to high. Low to Also for the T-bar, one caveat that I would make is I would make it a neutral grip. So a neutral grip, a lot of the times when you look at T-bars, they have three different handles, right? They'll have one handle up here, they'll have one handle that's kind of like 45 degrees, and they'll have another handle that's over here in the middle. So I'll do a neutral grip, right? For this one, I would just do a 45 degree. So you have a lat exercise, T-bar, you're still getting a lot of back and upper back, but if you do a neutral grip, you're gonna get a little bit more lat, and then you're hitting your upper back as well, right? Very simple, very easy. And then at the end, to finish it off, I would do reverse pec deck as well. Deck, boom. And then after the reverse pec deck, after the reverse pec deck, what I would do is I would throw on the deadlifts all the way at the end. So I'll put the deadlifts at the end. So I would actually switch this around. I forgot about the deadlifts. So I would switch this around. But I would put the deadlifts after the low to high row. You might be thinking, why are you doing the deadlifts at the end? Why are you doing that? You know, you're gonna get your most bang for your buck over here when it's a compound movement. But for this training split, we're not really focused on, building up the thickness. This is if your lats are lagging. This is how I would structure it, right? And then also you could add some shrugs here at the bottom if you do that in your back day instead of your shoulder. The third program is if you want to really, really focus on developing a thick upper back, right? So how I would do it is I would actually really focus on getting a solid T-bar row. So really focus on prioritizing the strength in the T-bar row. So I'll put the T-bar row first. T-bar. After the T-bar row, I'll do a low to high row. After the low to high row, I would actually do the deadlifts. And then I would move on to my lat movements, right? So lat movements, you could do the same exact way. You could have close grip, and then also you could have a seated cable row as well. So actually for this, I'll change. Boom. Okay, so after the deadlifts, I'm gonna do a seated row, but I'm gonna have a pronated grip. So over here, these first two training splits, we had a neutral grip on the seated cable row, but for this, we want a pronated grip, so overhand grip. That way when you're rowing, it's gonna hit a bit more upper back. And then I would finish off with a close grip pull down, and then I would do some reverse pec deck as well. All right, so reverse pec deck. Boom. And that's how I would structure my back training. So 3 different variations, right? You have a well-balanced back workout that hits a little bit of everything. Then you have a lat-focused back workout. And then also you have an extreme like upper back lat focus. You have an upper back focused back workout. A little bit of too much stuttering in this video, but upper back, lat, and a little bit of mix, right? If you're someone that doesn't want to do deadlifts, or you have some back pain or a back injury, you could just get rid of the deadlifts here, here, and here, and you'll be solid. I would just replace it in your upper back movement. I would just replace it for another row variation. But that's pretty much it. So if you're doing your back workout, make sure you pick one of these, and you'll build that crazy thick back that also has a crazy V taper. In terms of sets and reps, what I like to do is I'd like to go pretty heavy on my back days. So I'll do anywhere from 6 to 10 reps, right? In terms of sets, I'll do anything from 2 to 3 sets. I don't like going over 10 reps. Only thing I'll do that on is the reverse pec deck, right? So the rear delt movements, because I feel like the rear delt, it's a really small muscle. You don't need to put 200, 300, 400 pounds to make it grow. I think when you just put a lot of blood in that area, your rear delts will grow, right? But for everything else, when you look at old school bodybuilders, they're rowing heavy weights, they're deadlifting heavy weights, they have crazy thick backs. But yeah, all in all, that's gonna be how to set up a back workout. Let me know your guys' overall thoughts. If you guys have any questions, comments, comment it down below. I hope this video brought you some value, and yeah, we're gonna get better at making these videos. A little bit too much stuttering in the video, but yeah,